Hello, here we are on our Wednesday live stream. How you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you doing?
I'm good.
It's been
Busy
a busy day already.
today? So we will be right back in just a minute. As we say every week, we are in this together, and that is music by our dear friend Elliot Lewis, who has a wonderful career in the music business, creative soul, elliotlewis.com. So thank you, Elliot, for that. We are Dave and Laura Butler of Work Life Consulting, and we provide customized online and in-person coaching programs that help individuals, teams, and leaders achieve greater fulfillment in their work and life. Our services are tailored to and customized to fit your unique needs. And as we see here, today's discussion is going to be about our favorite tool that gets the conversation going in a direction that sometimes we don't even expect, right?
Oh yeah, I mean it starts unearthing all kinds of things.
So what is it? And what do we love so much about it?
Can I give you a story?
Yeah.
Just 15 minutes ago, I just finished a conversation with two leaders of a startup company. They're trying to get along with each other. One's running one of the companies, the other one's running a holding company. I mean, they've been on different pages for weeks now. And all of a sudden, by using the Birkman and being open to each other and talking about each other's needs, they had this tremendous, like they started the conversation with, like, we had so many ahas today, we don't know where to start. So, I mean, that kind of opportunity exists with the Birkman that I've never seen exist with anything else. And as a result, I mean, I'll give you the bottom line. One of them, I said, you're both trying to, climb Mount Everest. One of you wants to pack the backpack with just a handful of stuff that you can find right in front of you. And the other one spends a week packing a suitcase. So they look very different in how they approach climbing Mount Everest. But you know what? They're climbing Mount Everest together.
Yeah. I think that's a great example. And, when I first got involved after you had been using the Birkman for several years, and everybody has their tool of choice when they first, oh, yeah, I've done that. I've done Myers-Briggs. I've done DISC. I've done Strength Finders. I've done the whole list. And my question usually is, well, where is it now? And oh yeah, well, we don't know. It's we don't use it anymore. And
it's on the shelf behind you.
Yeah, it's become shelfware. You won't find the Birkman on my shelf behind me because I use it every day. I call Birkman the third party in the room. So what do you think, Birkman? Is basically the go-to in terms of, I won't even go near coaching without having this as my tool. And the way it was described to me by Sharon Birkman Fink, Dr. Birkman's daughter, who's now the CEO, she said, what I do is I help people see, here's an iceberg. And what we see above the ice is what all the tools provide, which is information about what your passion is, key, and what your strengths are. I mean, absolutely fantastic because that gets the conversation going. What's unique about the Birkman and why we love it so much is that if we know what our needs are, we can be above that ice. We're in our strength zone. And so the needs are that big chunk of ice that are hidden in all of us, and they're hidden underneath the ice. They're not visible. We quite often don't know what they are until we see an assessment like this where we can identify it. And if we don't know what our needs are and we slip down the slope of fear, worry, anxiety, anxious, that's going into stress zone. So it's like, here's the needs on the top of this slide. And if we don't satisfy the need, we're going to slip down into the stress.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that to me is the essence of why we love the Birkman so much.
Yeah, you can go so far with needs. You can only go so far with strengths. That's great. I'm glad we're all strong in what we're strong in. Passion is a good thing to know because I'm going to show up early and stay late because I love what I do. But knowing what my needs are and what your needs are and the other needs of the team, it really opens up a whole new level and vista of how we interact with each other.
Absolutely. And so what it does, what we found over the years, is that it provides this much needed boost. Individuals we've worked with, I mean, it's got to start with the individual before it can branch out into the team. So the individual could be a leader who's trying in, this uncertain time that we're still in. We're looking for connection, if above anything else, and it can bring connection because it's providing insights and new discoveries for those individuals who are a part of the team. And if there's ever a time that we see change at unbelievable speed, it's right now.
And it only gets faster.
Yeah.
Funny thing about change, we go into try and help people, and they say, well, we'll get to all that. We've done that before. We'll get to that, when things settle down. What? Who? When?
Yeah,
Never.
You'll be waiting for quite a while.
Oh man, I won't be here anymore.
How does this impact the individual who is a member of the team? If you have a tendency to go to the red quadrant, so Birkman is red, green, blue, yellow as the introductory level of the map is what it's called. And this is, reds need to ensure ownership of the results. They need to see something is happening. And if they're not owning it, somebody else better.
Yeah.
Because we need to get to the finish line and get something done. Greens have a tendency to go to the conversation. They go to the collaboration. Dave is that, and generally speaking, my strength lies here. So I engage, I collaborate, I facilitate, and that's something that is visible. Our strengths are most visible. Needs underneath that ice are most hidden. Blues need, this is me in terms of what I need underneath that metaphorical ice, time to think through the process. I will go to stress in a heartbeat if I don't have the time to think through and give myself options to be able to come up with a decision. And yellow is the precedence for how we got to where we are, but also lay the groundwork for where we're going and give the other three colors that kind of that focus. So I'm sure you've had the same. I've had many leaders say to me, which is the best color if I want to become a leader or enhance my leadership?
Right.
What's our answer?
They're all the best.
All four. And there are three work-life aha moments that we have seen over the 20 plus years that we've been using the assessment. And number one, it's leaders who are looking to boost self-awareness. If you don't have as a leader effective, well-rehearsed emotional intelligence and the ability to tap into it with the first step of self-awareness, you're not going to get very far as a leader. And to be able to identify what those needs are to rise above it. Because there's going to be challenge, there's going to be chaos, there's going to be uncertainty. Right. Let's just say that, yes, it's there. How do we deal with it?
Well, and I think if you can manage yourself better, then obviously you can manage others and the organization better. Reminds me of my mentor years ago said you can only go as far out here as you go in here.
Exactly.
And I think that's the bottom line of leadership is you got to be spending some time working on in here, getting things organized and together so that you present a more effective face to the company and to the world.
Another aha for me is the work that I've done with women. And I have used this in women's leadership programs, and used the Birkman tool that I've created and sort of set the stage for the conversation for where that leadership journey is taking them. One of my favorite scores in the Birkman to look at for women is assertiveness. And it doesn't mean being necessarily assertive if you're not. It's knowing how to deal with being assertive or not. when you're in the midst of the heat of the moment. So those who are lower assertiveness scores may not speak up even when they know they have something to contribute. So what are the pieces that you need to in order to do that? And one of my favorite is to come up with some open-ended questions that engage those who are high assertiveness, engage them because they love that. They love the challenge. They love the debate. So the ability to bounce off ideas, and the key component of this to me is stop apologizing. Women have a tendency to land on that assertiveness score from the apology zone. And then the final one is for teams. And I think the biggest impact I've seen with the Birkman and teams is the ability to embrace diversity of thought. So we can get, we need diversity. We need diverse teams by gender, by color, by skill. All of the pieces of diversity that we would include. But the most important thing is that we can think and embrace a new perspective. Mm-hmm. And Birkman helps us to do that. So the seat in the room, I've often encouraged people who have the Birkman, bring it with you to meetings. Use it as like the recipe, the cookbook. Mm-hmm. So we also have, I think the other piece that we've seen is that we have some organizational in the drinking water case studies. So why don't you share one or two that you've experienced yourself?
Sure. By in the drinking water, we mean that we find ways to utilize it, build it into the company policies and procedures. Really becomes an enhancement rather than shelfware. What I've seen in the past, an example case study was aviation jet company that we were working with, a corporate aviation company. And when we first got in there, they had a terrible retention problem. I mean, the pilots were being poached left and right because other organizations needed them. There's a lot of insecurity around where they were going, what was next for them. And at that point, we did a study, and they had a 22% turnover rate. In other words, like a retention rate of 22%. Well, that's 22% of 150 pilots, which is somewhere around 30 pilots. Well, if you add that up, the usual rule of thumb to replace a pilot is probably a year's salary plus, because they all have to go get their training and all the rest of it. So if you just on average be 150 to 200,000 a pilot times 30, you do the math. It's costing the company $6 million a year just to try and keep the pilot population together. By using the Birkman, by helping in the hiring, by helping build the sense of camaraderie, by helping the pilots understand that they had a development track. In a year, we went from 22% to 2%. Now that's, to me, radical. If you can make that kind of radical difference by using as a tool, now it says use the tool well. You have to be careful. I can kill you with a hammer. I can build you a house. So there is something to be said for expertise and skill. But, it's very possible to see these kinds of results. Another example, if I have time, is was a utility.
For a second, I just wanted to say, if anybody is joining on the recording, welcome. And we're talking about the Birkman instrument, and Dave is sharing a couple of case study examples of how it's been embedded in the drinking water. So number two.
So the other case study I have is a utility company. Those of you that are old enough remember 10, 15 years ago, what they call deregulation happened. And all of a sudden, electric utility companies had to compete with each other. Well, they weren't used to competing. So there's a lot of churn, a lot of turmoil, a lot of change. And in one instance, one of the departments that had to do with customer service and selling and all that, marketing, we did a use of the Birkman where it had to do with helping people make choices about what they would like to do in the new reality, as opposed to just starting to lay people off and go find other people again. So we made a whole development process like a career transition center, as opposed to career outplacement center. Career transition center where people had a chance to see what some of the opportunities were for them in the new model. And at the end of it, the VP looked at me and said, I can't believe we actually reinvented the wheel here. There was no bloodshed, and we saved everybody. Everybody's part of the new company. So to me, that's worthy of note.
Absolutely. And I'll add one, a marketing organization, commercial services as well. They became so dedicated to utilizing the Berkman that several people in the leadership roles became certified in using the Berkman. And then under our direction, they take ownership of the Berkman distribution throughout the organization as people come in. So it's a terrific way to onboard and um, and start with getting it in the organizational drinking water for sure.
Yeah, and empower people to be able to make the choices they need to make in this world of change.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for joining us, everybody. Please leave comments if you're listening to the recording or listening live. And again, anything that comes up that you would like us to talk about, we'll be adding more conversations about Berkman because I think it's at the essence of what we do. So we want to make sure that we're sharing insights with you. So join us again next week. I always like to close with this.